There are certainly times like tonight's where the Great Wall of Metal live stream takes the form of something that borders on the slightly ridiculous or the fantastic, right? I realize this stream certainly is not for everyone, but with that said, the passion of those who are into this type of subject matter, it's off the charts. We know that real metalheads get this, and I, for one, love this shit. I am the Heavy Metal Wizard, and good evening on a lovely Tuesday night here in SoCal. Without any further ado, let's just kick into it. It's the Great Wall of Mythic Metal. tonight, yes, we shall partake in a classic metal celebration of doomed heroes, mythic creatures, unlucky gods, etc. Because, throughout the decades, metal is one of the only musical genres that pays homage to such subjects as we're getting into this evening. Whether it be fantasy or horror or ancient historical fiction, all the great heavy metal bands have outdone all the other musical genres that you might listen to here and there. Whether it be pop rock or grunge, alternative music, hip-hop, whatever. But when it comes to relaying tales of, death and suffering, glory and victory, the metal bands do it the best, and you know it. So we kicked off tonight's Great Wall of Metal with a stone cold classic, of course, from Manowar there, Thor, the Powerhead. Of course, Thor, as we all know, the god of the hammer, and on a mission. Before that, we did Monster Magnet. That really kicked things off tonight with Cyclops Revolution. And, of course, Dave Windorf there talking about Cyclops from X-Men, of course, which was named after the Cyclops of Greek mythology, the one-eyed monsters. As a matter of fact, we got to get the one-eyed monster up there on the screen. There we go. We'll fill our Great Wall with some folks that you've probably all heard of, but maybe you're just not quite positive of why they're so famous. Why is the Cyclops so famous? Why is Thor so famous? Well, we'll get into all that tonight, but we'll let the music do the talking, and then maybe we'll round some stuff out later on. Let's kick in some Trivium on the Great Wall of Metal. story of a dude who existed back in the 4th century BC. Damocles, of course, we're talking about there. He was a power-hungry official in the court of Dionysius, who was a Greek ruler back in ancient times. And Trivium wrote a tune. So he was a power-hungry guy, but he didn't understand that with power came many, many problems. So the sword hangs over you. In the court of the dragon, of course, their 10th and most recent album. I figured we'd get some stuff that's a little recent on tonight, because we're going to be doing a lot of older metal, as we normally do here on the Great Wall of Metal. I'm the Heavy Metal Wizard, make no bones about it, and we are live in SoCal at the Gotcha Metal Studios tonight. Manowar in there on the Great Wall of Mythic Metal, because they are the kings of all that is Mythic Metal, with Thor, the Powerhead, off the Sign of the Hammer album back in 1985. Thor was a Germanic and a pagan god, and he used a great big hammer in battle. We all know that about Thor. Like I said, I'm not going to go into a full-scale college history professor thing on you tonight, but I feel it's my civic responsibility to at least explain why these characters are so important and why some of our favorite metal bands wrote great and amazing metal songs about these people, you know, whether it's Thor or Damocles or Cyclops or in this next case, Andromeda.
Taking your essence and using the strength of their own flesh and
Great Wall of Metal! 2009 for a stone cold classic from Priestess. Yes, the story of the Firebird from the Prior to the Fire album, second album from Priestess, and last, unfortunate, but their last album, and it's a great band from Canada, one of the great hard rock bands of the 2000s. Only released 2 albums, but they made their mark. And of course, the Firebird is a heavenly creature from Russian mythology, the giant golden red bird, foreseer of doom. If you saw the Firebird, doom is on your horizon, ladies and gentlemen. Before that, SOD with Freddy Krueger. Get a 20th century serial killer, Freddy Krueger, from the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Of course, a little SOD from their Speak English or Die album. And Mastodon in there with Andromeda, which, of course, is a really lengthy tale that I won't fully go into, but Andromeda was the princess, of course, of the Greek province of Ethiopia, and Andromeda's parents angered the gods. You all know this story, right? So she was to be sacrificed to the sea monster Cetus, and she was all ready to be sacrificed, and she was saved by her future husband, Perseus, who killed the sea monster, of course, with the head of the Medusa. And in more recent times, but not much more recent, some scientist, I don't know who, named the galaxy Andromeda. Of course, that's the nearest galaxy to the Milky Way. I guess our space neighbors, right? It was originally called M31. And somebody named it Andromeda. I don't know who. You can look it up, people. That's a true story. It's a true scientific tale. And as far as the Firebird goes, well, that was also my first car. That's right. I had a 1987 Pontiac Firebird that looked like that. All right, I'm the Heavy Metal Wizard, and it's the Great Wall of Mythic Metal tonight. And as stated before, I know this subject isn't going to get 1,000 views, but I don't care because I love it. And real metal bands have been writing songs about such creatures and figures of ancient history and mythology. And it's the kind of shit that really got me into metal when I was a kid. And the literature. I mean, yeah, I'm a nerd. But I'm a metal nerd. Do something a little bit more recent. High on Fire. Oh, the Waste of Tiamat. The Dragon Extraordinaire. Great Wall of Metal. Now you know, it just doesn't get any greater than Testament covering Scorpions, a song about the ferryman who would take you across the river Styx for a gold coin or your soul. That's right, the Sails of Chiron, originally done by the Scorps back in the mid-late 70s. I think it's on Taken by Force, if I'm correct. Testament recorded it back in the mid-90s during their Low era. It was after the Ritual, but before Low. It shows up on their Best Of that came out in the late 90s on Atlantic Records. So we play it here tonight on the Great Wall of Mythic Metal, because it doesn't get any more mythic than that. The Sails of Chiron, ladies and gentlemen. And before that, the Flight of Icarus. And it really doesn't get any more metal than that, because, you know, Icarus, he was a troubled soul. His dad was a very experienced builder, a master builder, as a matter of fact. And he built himself and his son Icarus some metal wings that were secured by leather bindings and glued together with beeswax. And of course, Icarus, well, he flew way too high, and the beeswax melted, and Icarus felt his death, of course. And you don't have to know the Iron Maiden song to know that story. That's a famous Greek mythology story right there. Maiden doing it off their fourth album, Peace of Mind, of course, an all-time classic. And then before that, High on Fire with The Waste of Tiamat from Death Is This Communion, great CD they put out back in 2007. And Tiamat, of course, a Babylonian dragon god, or goddess, I should say. Tiamat was female, or is female. And those of you who played Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, well, you're familiar with Tiamat. Everybody had an adventure or a module with Tiamat at some point in your life, right? A feared dragon was Tiamat. All right. It's the Great Wall of Mythic Metal tonight. I am the Heavy Metal Wizard, and we're live in SoCal here at the Gotcha Metal Studios on just a gorgeous late Tuesday night as we approach midnight. Are we at midnight yet? And you know what midnight means? It means we break out the old BONG for our last song, because we've got to end this shindig at some point. But thank you for tuning in to the Great Wall of Mythic Metal tonight on the Gotcha Metal channel. You know I love you all. And you guys and gals have some big-time metal nuggets for staying up late with me, because we're all going to be late for school tomorrow. Every Wednesday, we seem to be late for school. I don't know. All right, let's end this shindig with one more, and it's an all-time classic. Of course it's going to be, right? We'll go back to the mid-'90s for a band that's going to tell you a tale, or at least intertwine a tale, of a goddess or god named Bacchus. Now, Bacchus was a really terrific dude. Back in Greek mythology, he was known as Dionysus, and he was the god of wine, music, fertility, ecstasy, insanity, and festivity. So this guy, Bacchus was all about the party. The Romans renamed him Bacchus. Like I said, the Greeks called him Dionysus. And the Romans, well, they enjoyed their wine and sex, of course. And they liked to trip. So they really dug Bacchus. So we're going to end tonight's stream with an ode to a god where if you drank his honey from his wand, you would experience the most joyful ecstasy that one can get. Back in ancient times, you didn't have to go to the dealer. You just went to Bacchus. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is Typo Negative off the highly acclaimed and revered album October Rust. And we'll end tonight with In Praise of Bacchus on the Great Wall of Metal, of Mythic Metal. And I'll see you real soon, people, because I love you. Good night, everybody.
She said, "Blood." She said